And what I learned about comparison is we always compare somebody else's best version of themselves to our worst version. It's an unfair comparison because you don't see the background. You don't see the bad runs that they have. You compare yourself to the good runs.
For me, that was super impactful, and thinking, how do we help people understand that you can do or be anything that you want to be? And those transition periods are just really cool little pieces of that puzzle.
And that's that self-image that is key, because you don't have the ups and downs. You just know, okay, I did this, recognize it, release it, replace it, and then repeat.
Welcome back to the Wealthy Cowboy Show. I'm excited about today. We're going to talk about the first step in changing your life. It's the mental side, the mindset side of things, and these people specialize in it. It's Lyman and Gwen Tenney of Tenney Training. So how are y'all?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm amazing. Like every day.
Yeah.
Every day I get to breathe.
I'm glad y'all could make it in. I know it's y'all are based out of Wickenburg, right?
Wickenburg, Arizona. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows our actual address. I say Wickenburg, but we're on the line. My neighbor in our driveway, the neighbor on the other side is Wickenburg, and we're actually the first Morristown address. Mm-hmm. But if I say Morristown, no one knows where that is. Yeah. But if you say Wickenburg in our industry, I would say a high percentage of people know where Wickenburg is.
Oh, yeah. Well, we always start. I know I read y'all's background a little bit on your site, so I know y'all have a cool background. We always start with that, so we'll share both y'all's background and then go from there.
All right, we'll let ladies go first.
Gosh, okay, so I grew up in Wyoming, actually, and my grandpa, my horse industry background is my grandpa was a horseshoer, a judge, a brand inspector, a stock contractor, all the things in a little tiny place called Ten Sleep, Wyoming. And so that's just kind of how I got my start in all things rodeo, really. But then I rodeoed when I was little, and then I kind of stepped away from that, and then did other things, jumped into education, and then ended up in a feed store, owning the feed store, and here we are. Mindset training, mental game training.
I think I've had a bunch of people on the same way that are raised around rodeo or ranching or whatever, and then go out, didn't really appreciate it. It was just life. And then they want to go out and do something else in a different industry. And then usually it comes back full circle.
Yeah.
You really can't get away from it, I guess.
It is really in your blood. Once it's there, it's kind of there for sure. Yeah.
And it's crazy how you can kind of parallel. You don't have to be directly involved, but you can kind of parallel your business with agriculture, Western industry, all that.
So many businesses. The opportunity is vast to parallel any business truly with the agriculture industry.
Mm-hmm. What about you? What's
well, let me help her a little bit because she didn't say all the great things that she's done. She actually started this Tenney Training. We're the mental game specialist. And so she actually started coaching long before I ever came into the industry because I was training horses, shoeing horses, and I would build barns, just a jack of all trades. Yeah. I can build fence.
Same as her grandpa,
same as her grandpa.
Yeah. As a cowboy, you got to hustle. You work way harder so you don't have to have a real job.
Yeah, we didn't want the 9-to-5 job that everybody, most of my friends would go to. And I had one of them as well. I had 3 jobs in high school and played sports and rodeoed. And that's just the first actual job I ever got after I graduated. Kind of funny because they said you have to have a break at 9:00. You have to have a mandatory 15-minute break by law, and you have to have at least 30-minute break. And I'm like, but I'm in the middle of a project. Because I grew up riding and ranching. We start at 3:30 in the morning in the summer in Arizona, and you feed everything. You get your feed, and then you get in the truck and trailer if you're hauling out or if you're riding out, and you're wherever you need to go at the sunrise because, You got work to do. And if it's a 10-hour day or a 12-hour or 14-hour day because something gets out, or fence is down or water's flooding or, all the ranchers know, but a lot of people that work in the city don't. But I just was raised that way. You work until the job's done. It's not you clock in, you clock out. And so growing up that way has been very helpful, but it also limited me in a lot of ways because I was always taught, and there's nothing wrong with this, that be honest, be a man of your word, hard work, and you'll have a good life. And that's what I've always done. I've always had a good life. But what about an exceptional life? Mm-hmm. What about a great life where you're not just using your back? You're using your brain a little bit and your back more. And so being raised, I started training outside horses when I was 13 years old. I think I got my first 4 head of horses from outside, and I would ride before I went to school and after I got back home from school. And I liked making money. I grew up, I would lower middle class. So if I wanted something, we had to earn it, and that was a great lesson in life. But I never realized my grandfather, my granddad, my great-grandfather, he was one of the founders of the AQHA, Ernest Browning. And my granddad that I'm named after, my grandfather, Lyman Tenney, he went to Australia and he started the AQHA Horse Association over there, and he shipped in some studs over there, quarantined them, shipped them over there, and started a whole big roping crew and rodeo and gymkhana, and they did all that there in Australia for a long time. And I just grew up on a ranch. We're riding a ranch every summer. My Ernest Browning had the Muleshoe Ranch there in Wilcox, and it's a pretty good sized spread. And I just grew up a little kid and gathering cattle and pushing cattle and fixing waters and fixing fence. I never knew anything different. I don't remember learning to ride. I don't remember learning to rope because that's what we always did. Mm-hmm. And so then going to horseshoeing after that, I remember my dad said, to make a man's wage, you got to be able to shoe your own horse on the ranch. Because I was getting $25 a day, 11, 12-year-old kid, and I'd always been helping my dad. He would shoe some horses. It wasn't ever his full-time job, but he was entrepreneurial, and he did ranch work, and he was doing solar for wells on ranches and things of that nature. But they're, Roundup in the spring and Brandon. But I'd go to work and I wanted to make money. He's like, well, when you can shoe your own horse. And so I'd always finished and pulled shoes at 8, and I was small, and it took everything I had and stands. And he just said, figure it out, and showed me how the best he could. And by 12, I was able to put shoes on my own horse and keep them on there so I could get paid $50 a day back then, So I was making big money in the summers. And I come back to school and I played basketball and football and baseball, and all the kids did all kinds of things during the summer I didn't even know about. It was like I didn't even know what the city kids did. Mm-hmm. And we grew up in Wilcox, Arizona. It's a small town. It's a farming, ranching community, and we have about 4,000 people there, but it's spread out pretty good. The city is a little town. I graduated with 86 people, I think, in my graduating class. And so, but I went to work at the Chevron station to make money. So I'm pretty good with cars and things of that nature during high school. And I did all my schooling and was able to go to school half a day and have work release, what they had work release. So I'd be able to go work and then come back and play sports and then go back and close the shop down and then try to ride in the early mornings before school and do all that. Grew up junior rodeoing. But when I met my wife, I asked her, what is it that you want to do? Because she was running the feed store at the time. I said, we're not getting any younger. What is it that you're really interested in? And it took her about 9 months to feel free enough to say, I've always wanted to be a coach, speaker, trainer. And I said, well, let's get after it. We got this one life, and I was happy shoeing horses. I was making good money shoeing horses and hustling, money, building barns for buddies and people that needed fence built and barns built. And I could do all of that, growing up on a ranch, you have to do everything. And so she found a John Maxwell. And so she went through that 13-month course, and then she went through the next level and had the private coach. And so she did it. So I kind of did it in the background.
Well, wait a minute. Actually, what you said was, that's because I was like, you would love this. This would be amazing. And he said, it's okay for you. Yeah. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think it's on that note, like what you said to her. I don't know where that came from, but that was something that really changed my life. Was I was kind of on this path of listening to podcasts and like self-improvement stuff, but I went to an event and he was like, made everybody stand up, close your eyes. He's like, picture yourself standing next to you, and what is your dream life, basically. And I've done podcasts about this, and I say it all the time. That's the most important thing I think you can do. That most people, like you ask most people, what's your dream life? What's success to you? And it's like, I don't know, and might say some material things or make a certain amount of money or something, but they don't really know. And that's what I was like, well, I want to be in shape. I want to have money. I want to have freedom, my family, which, it went more in depth, but basically that was the gist. And I tell people, break it down as much as possible. But it's cool that y'all did that and then you pursued it. And I say that just like work towards it every day. It's not going to happen overnight. So
sometimes you have to borrow somebody else's belief. And so that's kind of actually what happened there. And then turnabout's fair play.
Yeah, she borrowed my belief, and then I borrowed her belief because, I was roping, and then that happened. And so when you're making money with your hands and your back, and all of a sudden your bank account's dry and you have no insurance. And I'd been studying, but I hadn't been coaching or anything.
You had to be forced into it, basically.
I was basically, I love the personal development. I always have. And that's why I was asking her that question. And I've gone to a lot of seminars my whole life, just anything, just because I'm curious. Now, never stepping out and necessarily doing it full throttle. I've done some property investments and things of that nature my whole life. My first house I bought at 18 was an investment, but I lived in it, fixed it up, but that was on a real small scale. And so when I was able to ask her, what is it that you dream of? Because a lot of us, just like, she had a life raising kids and she was married and didn't have the support system at that time that was really encouraging. This is what we do. This is the way it's done. And you're stuck in this area. That's what we do. And I think a lot of us get trapped in the life's conditions and circumstances, and we don't think it's possible for us. And we can admire these people who are singing, who are rodeoing for a living or doing whatever podcast. We can admire them, and we have this image that, well, I could never do that.
Yeah, they're special. That's not for me.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all special. We're all created, ultimately in the image of God, if you're a believer, and you're created for a purpose. And we are trained in this world to play small. And we're trained in a lot of fear. And one book that I've read, I'll never forget this. There's only 2 fears that we're born with as a child. And watching my 3-year-old grandson, it's true. I observe it, and I know you have a 3-year-old. So when you observe it, becoming a very good observer of life and animals and kids and the freedom that they have. And the book said, They're afraid of loud noises and the fear of falling. Every other fear is learned.
I heard this the other day that it said you need to spend more time with kids, dogs, and dead people. Dead people being books and things like that of past successful people, and then just being able to observe, like you said, the primal instinct of a dog and the, primal or whatever you say, instinct of a child that isn't corrupted yet, I guess you'd say.
Well, the freedom, my grandson, he's amazing. He knows what he wants, and he goes and tries to do it. Mm-hmm. And if he wants to jump off the haystack, he jumps off the haystack. If he wants to get on the horse, he's like, let me get on that horse. I go, this horse isn't trained. He's well, I want to get on him. Well, let's give it a shot, and I'll do it safe. I'll set it up where I have a hold of him, but just that no fear. And you see, we were watching some videos. She had some videos going on last night. And there was some kids, they were just running from a goat, just screaming bloody murder. And it's like, why? Where did they learn that? What story made them so fearful that they would run from this animal that they can control if they just thought about it? They're smarter. So this woman that agreed to be my wife, God bless her soul, she had the dream of coach, speak, trainer, and she had worked at a little Christian school, had a great mentor that really helped guide her, a big influence in her life. We still have her picture, like your grandmother would be on the wall, is in our house. Great family that lady was a matriarch of, that we.
She's actually Coulter Todd's grandma. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just let you say that,
Yeah.
And great family. They came from Montana there to Arizona, and Coulter Todd's dad and my dad, did some Amity rodeos together and little pro rodeo. And so small town, ranchers, and they bought a ranch next to where my dad was raised. So, good friendship, just small connections everywhere. But she, on her journey, she wanted to do it, but didn't really believe she could. And that's where she borrowed my belief. And then she told me, you would be interested in this. And yeah, I'm interested, but I'm good. I'm making money shoeing horses. I got a great book. I have clients always asking, I'm turning more horses away than I need, because there's just not enough time in the day. I make more money shoeing them than I do riding them, when you look at the hourly deal. And then, building barns and stuff when I need to on the side, helping out people and building fence. It wasn't main. It was just people needed stuff done. They couldn't get anybody they would count on to do it. And so I say, I'm going to do something. I'm there and I do it. And that's helped me out a lot. But I was just I was trading time for money. And you just think, you get stuck in that's the way to make money. And
if you want to make more money, you just spend more time and work harder.
Work harder.
More hours, yeah.
More hours.
It's the theme, work harder.
Until you max out. And that's what it took for me, was maxing out. And then it was like, well, I'm still not where I want to be. Yeah. So there's got to be a different way.
Not even close, right? You max out and you're like, I got a few extra $1,000 this month. And I'm maxed out. And I had no fun. And there's got to be a different way. And when you start observing and watching people, I think the biggest challenge I had to overcome was comparison. I would look at people with money and I would be a little jealous and like, they're better than me because they have money. Well, it wasn't true. I mean, I won the year end in most events in the junior rodeo, and I've come in second, fifth, and not placed at all in a few years, but it had nothing to do with the actual performance in the arena. Doesn't matter how much money you have. And when it comes down to, like for you, tying a calf, you got to score, ride rope, step off, handle your slack, Pick the calf up, throw him down, string him, throw your hands in the air and get back, and hopefully he stays tied for 6 seconds. And if you do that better than the other guy, no matter what the bank account says, you win. Mm-hmm. And so that comparison, I was always comparing myself, and I always wanted to prove that I was good enough, and I always went for first. I've had more fast time wins in my life than I had average wins. And I just would go for it to prove that I belong, to prove that I'm good. And that's why rodeo worked for me at a young age. And then when I started roping in these World Series a lot, it didn't work for me near as well. 4-steer average, you'd start waving off, your horse get dug, you're not handling, you're not setting up your heelers. Or if you're heeling, because I would do both ends, you're just trying to make that shot happen. And if the header's not on the same page 4 times a row or the steer, it's a challenge to get 4 of them tangled up. But I was always comparing myself to the other people. And what I learned about comparison is we always compare somebody else's best version of themselves to our worst version. It's an unfair comparison because you don't see the background. You don't see the bad runs that they have. You compare yourself to the good runs or the good horse that they have. And you compare even your good horse and your good runs. You don't compare that to them. You compare your worst run. And
I think that the Cowboy channels help that a lot for just the rodeo aspect, because I don't watch it all the time, but I'll every once in a while turn it on at night, and you see a decent sized pro rodeo and just people beating themselves and making terrible runs. And it's like, dang, this doesn't seem that hard.
Well, going back to the story that you tell yourselves, we're constantly telling ourselves stories that have really no meaning. Like there's no validity to the story. You ride into the arena and you're telling yourself, oh my gosh, this is the biggest show everywhere. But it's still the exact same thing that you're doing, whether you're turning 3 cans or whether you're backing in the box, like it doesn't matter. You're still doing the same thing that you do all the time. And I think that's what gets people in trouble more than anything, mindset wise, and why you sometimes have to borrow somebody else's belief is because you tell yourself these crazy stories that are really not valid.
One thing that I really wanted to say when I got here, because it's something Einstein said, so it's not me, someone much smarter than I am. He said there's one fundamental question you have to ask yourself. And if a guy that brilliant says there's one fundamental question you have to answer, I think I'd like to know what it is. And so it's this. Is this a friendly or a hostile universe?
He's thinking.
I'd say friendly.
Yeah, and that comes from a lot of what you're studying and things that you're going with. Most people, and it just didn't, it's friendly. It's not an automatic response. Most people say it's both. A majority say it's hostile right off the bat within a second or two. No, it's hostile. And that's how I answered that question when I heard it. No, it's hostile. And now through a lot of observation, study, and learning how the laws of the universe work, it's extremely friendly. And I usually tell people when I first meet them, it's extremely friendly. If you walk by an apple tree and you could have just beat up your neighbor and stole money and done everything, does that apple tree say you don't deserve an apple? Or does it freely give? And you could be a saint and do everything right, and you walk by that same apple tree and it freely gives. And there's laws of the universe. If you understand them and work with them, you can accomplish more things than you ever even could imagine. And that's where, when we started, when she decided this is what I want to do, now the power in a decision is so huge. You decided to start a podcast, and here you are a year later, year and a half later, and you're doing great things out there, inspiring our world in the Western industry. And we're here, and hopefully we're doing the same thing, inspiring people and encouraging them to do more than they ever thought they could. Because we did it. And we know there's nothing extremely special about us. We have the same skills and talents, ability that most people are born with. Now, some people are going to use it in a different direction, and that's fine. But if you want to be a singer, an astronaut, a doctor, or whatever it is, cowboy, ranch owner, our daughter is going to vet school. So she can be a vet. You get to choose, but the problem is most of us are programmed of the world that you need to go get a 40-hour-a-week job, be honest, work hard, you'll make a good living, you'll have some vacation time, play it safe. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't want anybody to feel bad if that's what they're doing and that's what they're comfortable with, but it's a lot easier to go do something you really enjoy doing.
I think people don't really understand the power of choice in their life. You said it earlier, the decision making, but we do have free will. We do get to make choices, and we can decide if we're going to choose in a positive path or a negative path, whatever that looks like for you. And so I think that's where we don't really claim enough personal responsibility. Like, I have the power to make the choices that I make in my life. And so I need to be ready to face those consequences, good or bad, whatever that is. And so that superpower of decision, as opposed to your circumstances controlling you, circumstances are just circumstances. They're just there. We get to choose how we respond to them, what path we take. And when you learn that kind of idea and that kind of power, it's empowering, right? It's a whole different thinking process.
Mm-hmm. I wanna ask y'all. I want y'all both to answer this question. Mm-hmm. Y'all both made big changes. It sounds like in your life, from the path you were on to what you're doing now. What was the biggest factor of that? Was it was it financial? You realize you couldn't make a good enough living doing what you're doing, or was it just happiness? I'll be way happier if I make a change. I'm not happy right now. I mean, I think to make a big change, from what I've seen, I mean, you got to be super uncomfortable with what you're doing before you're like, okay, I've got to do something. I'm completely tired of this. If you're living a comfortable life, it's hard to go do something completely different. DX Trailer Sales is based out of Lubbock, Texas, and it's definitely not just a trailer dealership. If you are involved in the Western way of life, and if you're listening to this show, you probably are, they have something you need. From trailers for a day working cowboy to a full-time cattle hauler, to hay trailers for a farmer or rancher, to arena drags, rope and chutes, and feeders for the rodeo cowboy or cowgirl. They also deal in every kind of hay any of your animals could ever need. Literally anything you need for farming, ranching, or rodeoing, they have something for you. And it's going to be at a super affordable price. Besides all that, everyone you deal with there is super friendly and helpful. We just got new custom flatbeds built for our pickups, and I also got probably the coolest trailer you've ever seen built. And you can stay tuned for a video we're going to do, and it's going to show all of that and some more of their products also. So check out DX Trailer Sales on Facebook or dxtrailers.com.
I think for me, it's a little bit opposite of that. It wasn't so much the comfort zone of any financial thing. For me is I have a couple of degrees in education. So that's always been my path, is how do I reach more kids? How do I reach the adults that reach the kids? How do it was just a progression of, okay, I was able to affect the lives of these people in a positive way. And so what's the next level for me? And that's where it came to the moving to the John Maxwell and learning about that more. And what does it look like to be a speaker, coach, and trainer? And then how can we impact more people in a positive way, right? Because like I was telling you earlier, my purpose statement is to inspire people to understand themselves and the perfect spirit within. Why? So that they can go out and do the same thing, right? So for me, it's definitely more about being able to touch the lives of people in a very positive way so that they can go out and live into their own greatness, right? Like that's 100% what it is for me.
And to answer your question, I think I was kind of forced into it, and I've always liked the personal development for myself. Now, applying it intellectually, I know a lot of things, and I still don't apply them all. The application, because there's an old paradigm, there's an old program. I grew up this way. This is how I am. This is how my parents are. This is how my grandparents are, and money's not everything, and it's not. It's not. Money is just money. It's just like anything else. But the freedom that you can have by doing something bigger than just being a laborer or going to a 9-to-5 job. And how can you make an impact on people? That is huge for me. I have 3 older sisters. I like a lot of attention. I was the only boy. Finally, they got it right. I always tell my parents, you finally got it right. And then my sisters, they're like, every grandma and great grandma and everybody, all of them came out of the woodworks to go to your wedding. They're always, you're the favorite. And I'm like, I know. And then I had these dimples, and they would always pinch my dimples, my grandmas and my great grandmas and aunts. And so I was always kind of the entertainer for them. I would play cards with my great grandmothers and my grandmas and play with their birds. But they gave me a lot of attention, and I knew I had an impact. I got kind of was the leader of my little crew in sports in my little town, and I like that feeling of leading. I've always liked to help people, and that's always been there. When I was shoeing horses, I was helping people with other things. That's how I would build barns and build fence and do other things for them, because they needed help and they couldn't find anybody they would trust. And then I would look at it, well, they're trying to charge you 5 times what I could do it for, and trying to help somebody, not understanding that I was pretty valuable. I should have charged more, but I was looking at it from their perspective only. And now I want to teach people how to get as much as they want, much love, attention, money, whatever it is that you want. There's a way to do it. And I believe I heard on your podcast before, everyone's already done it. Maybe not in our industry, but it's already laid out. And it begins with, for me, goes back to, is it a hostile or friendly universe? If you believe it's hostile, then that's going to tell me a lot about the struggles that you're going to have. If you can come to the understanding and know that it's friendly, even I tell people, everyone in our industry has had a flat tire. If you had a truck and a trailer and stuff, you've had a flat tire, especially if you ranch, you have a lot of flat tires. And so you get very good at changing them. And I used to complain and whine, why, gosh dang, another flat tire, having that attitude. Now I'm like, well, thank you for the exercise I'm about to receive. This just must be getting us to where we need to be on the perfect timing. Maybe this is me providing an accident, keeping us in the way. I'm always thinking of the things I can't see, that the universe is conspiring. Maybe it's slowing me down so I don't get somewhere where I don't need to be at the wrong time, the wrong place, And if you look at life and know it's friendly, then those challenges, missing one in the short round or winning a short round, like that's just what happens. And it doesn't have to elevate you so high or throw you down in the dungeon so low. Mm-hmm. And if you know it's friendly, it's all going to work for good. Because I know people who have won, one person in particular won the finale and ended up causing a lot of trouble in his life. And we think that's great. Everyone would want to win the finale, but maybe, a little more mature and things of that nature, the guy looks back like, that would have been better if I hadn't won that. And sometimes we think, you hear stories all the time where people have had a loss. Like you asked the question originally, like, was it something that was really bad that made you make the change? No, I had a great life doing what I was doing. I love horses. I love working with horses. And I can shoe I used to just shoe all the broncs. That's how I got my client list, because people couldn't get under them and stuff. And I learned a lot of tricks growing up, just being around horses. And my grandfather was so good with horses, dogs, and people. And I got to spend every summer with them. And we gathered wild cattle together, him and my dad and another guy. And that's what they did for making extra money on the side of ranching and other things. We'd go clean up remnants off ranches that sold. But going back to your question of, I lost my thought right there.
What's the impact?
The impact. Oh yeah. So being able to move forward and have a bigger impact on people instead of just shoeing their horse or building, like, how can I help people change their lives if they're willing?
I think it's worth saying too that we went through a whole process of, like, I started this whole mental game idea, and we went through a whole process when he started thinking maybe this is okay for me too, of like, okay, well, what's our niche? What do we do? Who do we, well, everybody has a mind, so it can impact anybody anywhere. And so but then I was like, I don't know if we really want to like go down the basketball trail or this trail. And after some like push and pull and kind of figuring it out, we realized like, okay, but we live this life, so why wouldn't we just, support the industry that we both love and want to be part of and help those in the industry? We kind of look at team roping more than anything else, but we work with all rodeo athletes, but just because he team ropes, that's where we're at most of the time. But that's it's worth mentioning that we were like, there's a struggle. What's your niche,
Did y'all have like a mentor, like advice on the business side of that to niche down and find, because that is a huge thing, is like, that's kind of where I was at with credit card processing is my main income. Well, nearly every business processes cards. So like theoretically all those could be potential clients, but you can't sell everything to everyone. You got it. Like you said, you got to niche down. Every business has an avatar, a target audience, target client. So it's like super smart to do that business sense. I mean, did y'all just accidentally kind of decide that, or?
Well, with our combined experience in different parts of the ag industry, right? I owned a feed store for a while, like just all of that combined experience. And then looking at tons of mentors that we had that we studied, John Maxwell, Bob Proctor, like tons of those kinds of things. Really, nobody specifically who is in our field that mentored us that way, but we had a lot of different. I like to take all the information from everything and bring it together and say, okay, how do they connect, and how does this apply to my life specifically? And so that's really kind of, I think, what we did. I don't know.
Yeah, you did it that way, but she went through John Maxwell and then through the private mentorship after that. Like, she had a private coach that she was working with, and then through him, she found Bob Proctor, because that's came up some information. So we went and spent a week with Bob Proctor in Toronto, Canada, and he had a group there of about 86 people, and so we spent a week up there. So, and then she signed up. When I say we, she signed up for private coaching after that, had a mentor. So we have a lot of mentors, and then just self-study and reading books. So, but specifically to the business, she already ran a feed store. I've already done some investment properties. My dad is a decent businessman. He's been in the real estate and got his broker's license, and he sells mainly farms and ranches. And, he's an entrepreneurial guy his whole life and very smart. My mom, she worked for the school district, and she was brilliant, and she ended up being a teacher after a long time, 14 years of driving a bus, and then being a cafeteria lady for like 7 years. Finally finished her teaching degree because she would just go a little bit. Actually went to school with my wife. Went to finish her degree. That was the funniest thing when I asked my mom for her opinion of marrying this woman, because I had failed before.
So scary.
My mom had told me, you'd picked and you didn't do very good, so I get to pick the next one. And so I said, done deal. I don't want to go through that again. And so I asked my mom, and she's like, well, yeah, I went to school with her, and we had already talked about it before, but like she like, no, that one, that's the one you need. And so thank you, Mom. I mean, she's gone now, but she got it right. But my wife studies one thing, and then she studies, and what is Troward?
There's a lot.
Yeah,
There's a lot.
But started Maxwell, and now she's over to Troward, and that's
I'm kind of looking
15.
for like, what's the next deepest level? Like, okay, this is good. This is surface level, but what's just a little bit tougher to understand and think about and process through? So all the things. I mean, again, we take all the things. We take the Bible, we take all the things that we've studied and say, okay, how does that work together? Or what parts are we not okay with? What parts are we not gonna claim and take?
I want to talk about your journey a little bit, because you were a teacher, right? And then went into a business owner, and then into this. How was that like progression? What pushed you like going just from being a teacher to business owner and then deep diving into this? I mean, this is kind of combines the two really, but
gosh, that's a long story. So I think just the education piece of it, I was going to be an accountant when I first went to college. And then I soon realized that was really boring to me, and I had no desire to do that. And so then I decided, maybe I'll try this teaching thing. And I've taught every grade level, kindergarten through college, and people ask, like, what was your favorite? Well, whichever one I'm in right now. Like, I just love it. I discovered that I love the transitions. So I think that's significant in that I love the kindergarten age because they're transitioning into going to school. And I love the like 8th grade when they're going into high school. And I love the high school when they're going into college, because there's something a little bit magical about the transition. I once had a teacher tell me, you can be anything that you want to be. Like, I was moving, and she said, you can be anybody that you want to be when you move. And so for me, that was super impactful, and thinking, how do we help people understand that you can do or be anything that you want to be? And those transition periods are just really cool little pieces of that puzzle. And so then I transitioned. Joanne Todd, who we were talking about earlier, she told me for a while, because I also worked some office work, and she said, okay, Gwen, you can no longer hide behind a desk. You need to be in the classroom. And of course, she was like, all the answers to all the things in my life. So I believed her very seriously. And so I went into the classroom. I actually took her position in the school that I was in. And so it just kind of, I got out of that for a little while and thought, you know what, it would be fun to run a store. And so then I just asked the local feed store guy, hey, you ever consider selling your store? He's like, it's actually on the market right now. Cool. It's kind of a fun story, because thinking about mindset, I had no money. I had no idea how to buy a feed store. I had no idea how to run a feed store. I just decided that was a great idea. I should do that. And so I literally walked into the bank and said, hey, I need some money, some significant money to buy this feed store. And they're like, okay, what do you got? Nothing. It's going to be fine. Okay, you just figure it out. You do all the work and bring me the money. It'll be fine. So I would sit in front of that feed store at night. It's so weird, but it's the visualizations, like all the things that we do now. I didn't know I was doing it then. I would sit in front of the store and like imagine myself in there and walking around and what, at the register, all the kinds of things. So sure enough, 2.5 months later, the bank called and said, okay, you got it. You can do it. So I owned that for a little while and built that up. And then the next piece of the puzzle was when he said, actually, what happened is they said, I had about 4 people who wanted to buy the store. It wasn't for sale. And they just were wanting to buy it. I had built it up a little bit, and they were ready to buy it. And I was like, okay, well, maybe this is time. It's time to move on to the next step. And then the whole 9-month process of, oh my gosh, could I really do that? And I did. And it's been magical, actually.
Mm-hmm. What was that? What was the process like going into the pursuing that, the coaching? And
yeah, he described it a little bit earlier. Is I I actually had a friend who posted something on Facebook about John Maxwell. We've mentioned that many times, that's where I've started. But I asked her, I said, who is this? What is this guy? And so she told me, and I just started studying. I'm a studier. So I just started looking at all the things and who is this guy and what does he do? Well, turns out he's written like 21 books on leadership and many more now. But, and so he had this training coaching system. And so I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to invest in myself. It was kind of a scary deal. It's one thing to invest in a store that will make you money. It's another thought process to invest in yourself and to turn yourself into the money-making project, right? Like that's kind of a different deal.
It's all on you, so you can't. It's like it's up to you to be successful, but also if you fail, it's like it was only my fault.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and there are lots of things that add into all that big picture. What were you going to say?
Well, that was the scary part for her, and she had to borrow my belief. No, you're going to you found the system that you want to do, go do it. And she had already gone through the system. What she learned going through their process, she had already studied all of it before she even started, because that's how she is. She attacks things head on. And to run a successful feed store, she's done some amazing things that we don't have time to go into, sending people from Japan or somewhere and working with another company, and they're teaching them to drill wells and stuff. So they would ship them out and doing all the logistics. She did all that for a guy that was a good visionary. She had to implement all of his crazy ideas. So she's brilliant. And she just needed a little bit of someone backing her, believing in her. She hasn't had a lot of that in her life, other than Joanne. Todd was amazing for her, but then she was in other situations that kind of discouraged her.
Yeah.
And a lot of us want to play it safe, and that's what the world tells us: be safe, it's safe. You go to that 40-hour-week job, you'll have a good life. And like I said before, how do you have an exceptional life? And that's what we have now.
Well, and it's the programming, right? Like whatever your experiences are coming to whatever place in your life is, you have this programming that's constantly happening. That's one of the things I learned when you're working with kids is they're constantly being programmed all the time. And so what are they learning and what are you learning as an adult? And that really builds who you are and how you operate in the world. It's your paradigm, it's your programming system, right? So prior to Lyman coming into my life, there was a whole program of you're not really good enough. You don't really know what you're doing, like a lot of those things. And so it was a lot to step out of that thinking process and move into something different for sure.
And then, so you kind of went through the course, and then I'm guessing you had to make another investment to do the private mentorship, and then...
Oh yeah, all the investments. Yes, lots of investments of time, energy, money, emotion. Gosh, I sat on my bed with paper everywhere and studying books and all my notes and all the things and trying to just really get a game plan for what do I want to do next. Lyman really likes more of the one-on-one kind of coaching, and I am really more of I would love to be on stages and public speaking and doing those kinds of things, which is pretty complementary to each other. But that's what that's the path I was going down first, is this speaking. I want to be a public speaker and I want to be able to inspire people from that way. Still do. It's not gone away from me, but then, like I said, when we process through, what's our niche? What do we want to do? How can we actually make a living doing all these kinds of things? Then the next piece of the puzzle was, well, I guess we should just start advertising ourselves. That was kind of funny. Mostly because you just are well, I don't know. Why do people, you go through the doubt process of why would people come to us? And I think what we've learned is that people just really want to understand how to just be okay with themselves, number one, for sure. and also to step into their greatness, right? Like sometimes you just have to be okay with yourself so that you can step into your greatness. And that's, again, that transition piece and that tipping point for everybody, I think. And we advertise and it's just grown from there.
What was that like? Did y'all reach out to friends or just post on Facebook or something? Or how was that? How was it like? What was it like getting the first client?
So before we just did the niche of rodeo, she actually got called. She did some advertising and just on Facebook, I believe. And Jenna reached out to her from Young Living, and she said, "I want you to come work with she has a whole bunch of people, multi-level marketing." And so she went and she did. What did you do for them?
I totally forgot about that. It's been so long ago. It was Amber, and Amber called me and said, "I would love for you to come talk to my team and help them to." They were about to make the next jump. They were about to go into the next level, and so I did. I met with them. They were in Delaware, and I met with them on the screen, and they did. They made it. They jumped in like big time. They jumped into the next level, and it was really cool to see that. Just by understanding who they were and what they were capable of, it's pretty phenomenal.
Just a little shift in their perspective, they were able to jump where they all made a whole lot more money.
Yeah,
they have these diamonds, double diamond, whatever it is, and that multi-level marketing, good business plan. So then she worked with that group, and then another lady said, "Well, this is what we did with this other company." And we did this membership. So she had a membership where she had 100, 200, 300 people pay monthly to be a part of this group. So she would coach and she would do things. I don't even remember. It's been so long ago how she did it all. And that was extremely successful for her. And then when we went to the private coaching, we had noticed a friend of ours was videoing the short rounds and things of that nature. And we said, well, we should start videoing the short rounds, to let people know and then tell them what we do a little bit on there. So we started filming the short rounds as well, and other places that the other lady wasn't. And then she kind of quit when we started. So then we started doing all the short rounds. And then telling people, people would watch the short rounds, but they didn't know what we did. And people would come up and talk to you. "Oh, thanks for filming the short round," or whatever. "Yeah, well, we do that to promote our business." "Oh, well, what's your business? Are you a horse trainer?" Because Tenney Training is training, you're riding horses and stuff like that. No, we actually train the people. And so that's how we kind of got started. And like she said, they let me heal in the number system. They let me heal as a 5, and they let me head as a 6. And we actually had a guy years in, and it's so funny now. It might have crushed me at the beginning when there was still a little self-doubt. Could I do this? And a guy said, "What is this guy's qualifications to be a mental game coach to these guys? Has he ever won the BFI, the NFR? What has he won anything? Does he even know how to rope?" And he kind of was going online pretty, just had a pretty good saying. He was going at me pretty hard. And it was a couple years in after I trained, and all our clients, the return on investment is high. 1,000%, like at least 10 times, 10x the return on the investment, almost every one of them. And so when that guy said all the negative things, my wife kind of wanted to defend me a little bit. I was like, "Oh, that's great." So I just messaged him back. I said, let's just call him John. "Hey, John, this is Lyman Tenney. If you would like to know about my qualifications, there's qualifications on the website. And if you would like to call me personally and discuss, what makes me a good coach, I'd love to talk to you. My phone number is 520-40, or that's her number, 818-8630. I was about to give her number so she could deal with it. But so I just said that. And of course, the guy never called or anything like that and never said anything else. But it's, the other thing that I've learned is people out there, they're going to put you down, are really never doing much more than you. People who are being successful, and they're so busy, they don't have time to chastise and berate and belittle people. And so the noise is coming from what some people would call the cheap seats. And I want to reach those people in the cheap seats because I used to be one of them. I used to compare myself, like I said, and that was my biggest downfall is I would, oh, well, they just have money. That's why they can afford the horses. That's why, instead of taking the personal responsibility of, well, actually, how can I make it work the best so that I can compete here? And that just shift in perception changes everything. Just like the fundamental question you have to ask yourself, friendly or hostile universe? If you know it's friendly, you can jump out of an airplane with a parachute, and some training or whatever.
I'm probably not going to do that.
Yeah.
Me either.
But you can enter that big event. You can enter that. Like $1,000 a man is what it cost over at the Regatta to enter. And we entered, quite a few times over there. I never would have dreamed of that 5 years ago, 6 years ago, to spend that kind of money on one weekend and maybe lose it all. And the other perspective change that I have and has helped a lot of my clients is I don't pay entry fees. I used to, but I make investments. And that investment, whenever I make an investment in doing something that I love, which is roping, team roping or calf roping, I love everything to do with horses. It doesn't matter. But those are the events I really like. And team roping is the one that's the most common around. And barrel racing, I've trained, we don't need to go on all the things I've done, but it's an investment. I'm a better husband. I'm a better father. I'm a better friend. I'm a better coach when I get to go have the freedom to enjoy something that I love to do. And do I only love it when I get the results I want? I used to. I used to only love it. And the one thing that this beautiful, brilliant woman that said yes to me, I took her to a rope and I wanted to impress her. I was roping good. I was winning, and I go and I take her, we're not married yet or anything. And I take her and I come to this rodeo with me. And it's a World Series qualifier, not a rodeo. And I don't rope very good. And so we drive about 4 hours back home. And about 5 minutes before I drop her off at her place, she's like, just so you know, if this is the way it's going to be, I'm not going to go with you.
Not because of the losing. We should clarify it was because of your attitude at the time, right?
That's what you hear everybody in rodeo. It's like, if you mess up, it's a long ride home.
But it doesn't have to be. Mm-hmm. I think that's what we do, right? Is understanding, like, the awareness of who you are has nothing to do with that result. Mm-hmm. Nothing to do with the result. And when you can live in the space of, like, I'm kind of a cool person, whether I win or lose or whether I make millions or don't, I'm just a cool person because I am. That's it. That's all you need to know. And so when people can actually step into that mindset, then it makes it, you're more free, mm-hmm. right? Because you're not dependent on, like, outcome independence, right? We're not dependent on that outcome to gain self-worth. We're just doing a game, but it's not going to determine how awesome I am.
Yeah.
Right. And living in that space is a whole lot different than being irritated that I'm embarrassed now because somebody saw me, messing up. Right. Yeah.
Well, the one thing about that lesson that I learned, I didn't even realize I was kind of being a jerk because I lost. But I wanted to impress her. I'm trying to get her to like me, and she didn't like me for winning or not. Like, if I could have been the worst roper there, and maybe I was, she still liked me for who I was, not but I was only as good as my last run. That's what I kind of grew up. I'm only as good as my run. I'm a winner. Everyone likes me. I'm a loser. No one likes me. Mm-hmm. And that is such a false premise that we go on. And that's why it makes it a long ride home. And when
you tie yourself to something outside what you can control.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And even if you were in control and you threw a bad loop or whatever, that doesn't have to change who you are. And we just have never been taught who we are. And that's my job. That's what I love about my job. I teach people about who they are. And when you truly understand who you are and that you were created with a success mechanism already built inside you, that's why you can breathe 24/7 without even thinking about it. That's why your blood circulates every 33 seconds throughout your whole body, takes the good in, the bad out. It all happens automatically. It's a success mechanism. When you learn something new, a lot of people go to this idea of hard work, hard work, hard work. Hard work is extremely great, but not with the wrong mindset. I did a lot of hard work with the wrong mindset, thinking I wasn't good enough. Just imagine if you knew you were good enough, whether you win or not, place or show or lose, whatever. I just don't lose anymore. Now, at the roping, if we need to explain it, yeah, there's some winners and then there's people that didn't win. But I'm winning because I'm there. That shift, because I'm doing something that I love, and I'm going to be okay regardless. I'm going to figure it out after. I'm going to go home and I'm going to be happy going home. They didn't pay me on I didn't get any return on my investment over financially in the roping this weekend. But that investment's going to come back to me. I don't know when exactly.
Yeah.
But it's going to mature and I'm going to charge them a lot of money next year I come back. And that's the way whenever you shift your perspective on things. I had a guy a pro, I didn't ask his permission, so I won't use his name, but he told me after the BFI, I went there and I had a chance to win and I didn't get to throw my rope for a really good chunk of money. And he's like, man, that's frustrating. I said, not at all. And he's like, yeah, Lyman, I know what you do for a living. I know you have to say that. And I said, no, I truly feel it because roping is something that I do. It's not who I am. And sometimes I'm good at it and sometimes I'm not so good at it. And I just know that. And so we put so much emphasis on results because we don't understand the greatness that we are created to be. And so we have to prove it and we have to compare ourselves to everybody else. And that really can play with your mind. And that's where that idea of pressure comes in for a lot of people. Who's watching me? Last time in this setup, I didn't follow through. We get a lot of people calling and they say, I've been struggling in the short rounds. I've made every short round in the last, but I can't finish. And it's like, okay, so how do we deal with that? So you ask them, well, what are you doing? Well, I'm trying not to do this. I'm trying not to break out like I've been. And they say all the things they don't want. And I said, let's simplify this a little bit. Just let's bring some clarity to your brain. Just a quick form. Can you just explain to me your perfect run? So let me ask you, we'll just do it live right here for you. Can you explain to me what your perfect run looks like in tie-down roping?
Yeah, you would score good first and be decent at the barrier. You could be a little bit off of it, not break out, which is going to set up your shot to rope decently fast, which also sets up your go to have a good go running down the rope. Your calf's going to fall perfectly however you want it. And then from there, you're just going to be smooth. Flank, string, gather, wrap, hooey. The biggest thing I see is like in that is people just beat themselves. And I've done it plenty of times, on that. That's what, I don't know how much y'all have coached on the calf roping, but that's what they always say is like, you never make any money from the stirrup to the throwing your hands up, but you lose a bunch. Because everybody gets down there and, I'm going fast. And then you're...
Slow is fast in a tie-down rope, and they say all the time. But let's go over what you said, a couple of things, because it's very key. As you started, you said you want a good go. That was great. And then you said, well, I don't want to break the barrier.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't ask you what you don't want. I asked you what the perfect run looks like. And so you can go back and watch it a little bit, but just every little word, every little step. If you're not really clear on what your perfect run looks like, it's harder to set it up for your subconscious mind. And so you have a conscious mind that you can create any thought that you want. And then you have your subconscious mind, which is your feeling, your emotional mind. And your conscious mind works about 40 bits of information per second. Your subconscious mind is at least 20 million bits of information per second. That's what we call muscle memory. It's your subconscious mind. So muscle memory is not real. It's your subconscious program. But we can call it muscle memory so that people understand what we're talking about. But it's actually a program that you put in there. So the program that we need to put in there for team roping, barrel racing, it doesn't matter event. We coach baseball, football, every event. It's volleyball. Is what is the perfect run? What does the perfect run look like? So let me give you a perfect run in tie down roping. So I get in the corner, calves looking out, my horse is ready. I nod, he moves right to the shoulder out is where I'm scoring. See the shoulder out. I nail the start. I run to his hip, wring his neck, hold my slack, turn him, step off, get down to him, pick him up, step back, flank him, string him before he hits the ground, gather the back feet low, finish the tie, throw my hands up, ride back to the horse, ride up, 6 seconds, look at the flagger, just smile. See how precise and clear that is? With no, I don't want to be late. Most people, when you ask them the perfect run, well, my horse, he usually does this. No, I said, what's your perfect run? Mm-hmm. But we want to include all the little issues and problems because that's how our mind works. Our subconscious, because that's things that we've been working on. Technique.
Like playing to win versus playing not to lose.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And so when you're playing to win, you know what you're going to go do. You're not hoping. If it's basketball, I'm going to drain this shot. If it's tie down roping, I'm going to wring his neck and I'm going to turn him because every time I turn that calf to the inside or the outside, whatever your favorite is, when they step right or step left, I'm going to turn him the right direction and he's standing up when I get there. And my horse always pulls him up over my leg. I just step back and he's in my lap and I string him on the way down. By the time he can even think about kicking, I have him gathered and tied because it's just so smooth. Now, if that's the way you talk, that's the way you think, and that's the way you feel, you got to add emotion. Visualization, there's a lot of people talking about visualization they don't believe in it. A lot of gurus, and I listen to a lot of them, and they don't like it. And I'm like, yeah, because they don't do all of it. They have it in their mind, but they don't add the right emotion to it. How does it feel? How does it smell when you made that great run? How did it feel whenever you got down to the rope? Did you burn your hand a little bit because you were going so fast down that rope as you picked that calf up? How did that flank feel? Did it just feel like it was a big old suitcase handle? And whenever you lift and when you step back, he's right in your lap like you're sitting there eating supper. How did that feel? And that leg is just right there and you strung it. And you pitch your slack there and it's just sitting there waiting for you to wrap as you gather the back feet. Right? How can we add that feeling? And I can see the look in your eye, right? You're kind of getting that feeling.
Yeah, and I'll give you even a more relatable one that was a successful visualization for me was my first episode doing this, which I'm introverted. I don't like talking to people really. I'd rather be left alone most of the time. And people are like, no, I can't believe that because you have a podcast. But I was kind of just pushed. I felt the need to do this. But anyway, so I know the first episode's scheduled with Buster Frierson, and I had the date. I knew it was happening. And so luckily Buster and I did this strategically, has a bunch of content out there and he's been on a lot of podcasts. So I listened to all of it, studied up on it. And they were like, were you nervous? And I was like, no, because I knew the whole episode. I knew how the whole conversation was going to go. I didn't script it out or anything, but I visualized it, had the whole thing in my head. So when I was here, I was just executing. I wasn't thinking about it. I wasn't nervous about it or anything. It was just, all I had to do was show up and it was going to be done. It's funny. Every brand out there claims they've built the ultimate Western performance shirt, but most of them are more involved in other industries. Finally, there's one that actually is different. Introducing Horn Knot. One detail changes the game. This has literally never been done before. A patent-pending hidden zipper pocket with an extendable lens cloth so you can clean your shades or your phone without untucking your shirt. It's simple, smart, and practical. I also like that you can fit your phone in the front pocket. And here's what I love. Horn Knot kept their designs classic, the most traditional pearl snaps you'll find anywhere. Great colors and vintage pocket designs. These are the same shirts I wear to work in, and you've probably seen me wearing them right here on the podcast. They even built a ladies line, not fake pockets or bad fits, but real Western shirts built to flatter and function. My wife Shady shows and works in these shirts, and there's nothing else like them.
Get yours today and save 20% with code Crockett at hornot-brkwy.com. Hornot and Breakaway. Learn more at hornot-brkwy.com.
That's the beauty of clarity, and that's what you both are describing is just clarity. When we do all those extra things, we're just adding confusion to the whole thing. So then when we go to perform, well, now we're like, oh, wait, what am I supposed to do? Because there's so much confusion. And in that precise description that you did, like there's clarity. And so there's nothing to get in the way. You can listen to, I heard Stetson Wright one time say, like, there's no reason I shouldn't win. Like that is confidence and clarity because he's like, no, this is what I'm doing. I'm not hoping, I'm not wishing, I'm going to go win this. I think it works out for him.
Yeah, and then I was going through clips the other day of old episodes to post, and Miles Baker was on here, and I was going through that, and a clip popped up of he was talking about Trevor, how he won so much. They said that he was the best at losing because they said it didn't affect him, and there's I'm sure y'all have heard the stories like that his traveling partners and everybody were like, most of the time it's a roller coaster. You win, you go party and eat and celebrate, and then you lose. Like, I'm a loser. We're driving straight home, not talking, mad,
crash.
And that's what they're telling a story about him. He's like, well, you can go eat at McDonald's if you want, but we're going to the steakhouse. It's like, I don't care if I missed or lost or whatever it was.
Or won. And that's, I call it the Trevor Brazil effect. I did have a client that headed for him. People don't always know that he used to heal pro. So the last year he was going healing. He was young, and my client is so funny, George. Shout out to George. So he said with Trevor, George said, I had the personality. If I caught and we did good, I called everybody. And back then, he'd stop at a payphone. They didn't have cell phones and stuff. And so he would call everybody. And if he got somewhere, he'd be calling at the hotel and telling everyone about what a good run and everything was going on. And, and if he missed, he couldn't get out of there fast enough. And he goes, with Trevor, he's like, you get in the truck, you didn't know if you won or lost. You just had no clue. He's the same guy every time. So I use that as a Trevor Brazil effect. And I think, I don't know Trevor personally. I've said hi to him one time. I ran across him at a horse sale there in Wickenburg. And nice guy, but he's confident in who he is. Yeah. And that's that self-image, that is key, because you don't have the ups and downs. You just know, okay, I did this. Recognize it, release it, replace it, and then repeat. That's my wife came up with the 4 R's, is recognize something you're thinking wrong or you did something wrong, release it. It's like a hot air balloon. Have an idea, just let it go. The hot air balloon flies away, or a helium balloon, I guess, not a hot air balloon. The helium balloon, you let it go and it just floats away, and then you replace it. That's the key. Most people don't replace it with what you want, and that's where that perfect run comes in. It's like, okay, so how do I execute the perfect run? We get so caught up on trying to change the past, but I've never met anybody yet that has a time machine. So I can't go back and fix what happened yesterday or the day before. No matter how much I think about it or talk about it. But there's a great statement in the Bible, and it's stated in a lot of personal development books in many different ways. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. And one thought that I really try to express to people, whether they're believers or not, is take every thought captive. And that's where the power is, because we have a thought, add a feeling to it, then we physically take an action and we get a result. And if we're thinking don't break out, your subconscious mind typically hears the command, which is break out.
Yeah, or be super late.
Or you're so safetied up that everything is set up. And then if you're super late, what happens? If you're super late, what happens to your mind?
Then you're trying to go fast to make up for it.
You start, I'm late. I got to make up for it. Instead of just finishing your perfect run, it might be at the back end of the arena. Just finish the perfect run. And when we can stay so focused no matter what, we have a chance. But most of us, our mind is so precise. We want to nail the start. And when some people get to the start, oh, did I break it? And now they top knot one or throw under the neck or just miss it because they're thinking about breaking out. Like, that doesn't matter now. Now I'm riding to the hip. Now I'm roping the neck. And if we have that clarity of the step 1, step 2, step 3, that's why that perfect run. So your subconscious program will execute. Once you score, it goes to riding. Riding goes to roping. Roping goes to stepping off, holding your slack, stepping off, flanking, stringing, gathering, tying, throwing your hands up. So the subconscious, at 20 million bits of information, it'll make every adjustment you need if you believe in yourself, if you have that self-confidence. And most people only, well, let me ask you, where do you get your self-confidence from if you're tying a calf down or doing a podcast?
From the work you did leading up to that, from the inputs.
And a lot of people will say that, from the work, from being prepared. And I hear that a lot. I want to go one step further. I call it the Trevor Brazil effect. He knows who he is, whether he wins or loses.
Your identity.
His identity isn't just rodeo. He's so much more than that. He's a son, he's a husband, he's a father, and a businessman, and he rodeos. Yeah.
I think that was a huge shift for me that has allowed me to step out and do this and do other things for after rodeo. After college, I was just a day worked, just a cowboy, and that was, I always had that. I always wanted to be known as a cowboy, and like I wanted everybody to see me that way, perceive me that way. And then I was like, I'm never getting a job. I'm always doing this. And then finally I was able to let that go and say, I know I'm a cowboy. I don't care what they think. I know what I do, and I still go do, and my capabilities. So who cares about them, which has allowed me to talk about business and money and do this and social media and other things. And some people may not even know that I'm a cowboy now. They see me as the podcast guy or business or whatever it is, which I don't care. And it allows me to go into a room or wherever with confidence, knowing that I'm okay. I know my capabilities, what I can do, and I don't care what they think. I mean, it's hard sometimes. You hear the stuff and it can, it gets in there a little bit, but I try to get it out as fast as possible.
I think when you're talking about confidence, you have to realize that it really does come from within. We're often searching for confidence. Like, how do I get confidence? What do I do that I'm going to get some confidence? That's not how it works. Confidence is here. You just have to be free enough to allow it to show up, right? So as you guys were talking, I was thinking about 3 C's here, right? What are we working on? We're working on confidence and being able to express that. We're working on clarity and knowing what direction we want to go. And then we're also working on control, self-control, mind control, all the things. And if we can get those 3 things like in working order as they should be, we're pretty unstoppable, truly, overall, because we know what direction we're doing. We have control over our thinking, so it's not going to add confusion to all the things. And then because of that, and because of just knowing who we are, then we can have the confidence. I really think that's probably, you guys are talking about Trevor Brazil or any of them. Like, I think that's where they're at. That's why they're successful.
I'll talk about someone more confident than anybody I've ever met, and that's my grandson. He's 3 years old, and he just wants to drive the tractor. He just jumps on the tractor. You're going to drive that thing off. Like, he don't care. Like, he doesn't have any fears, worries, or concerns in the world. And he's so confident, and that's our natural state. See, a lot of people want to get in flow state. That's our natural state until it's trained out of us. And that's where we care about what other people think. And I'll tell you how confident my grandson is he was 2 years old, and I took him to the jackpot, and Jason, my boy, is watching him, and he needed to pee. Well, we live on 30 acres and there's no one around us. And so he knows how to pee outside. He just don't bother me with it. Just get it done. We're working. We're doing something out here. So he's at the back of the arena, standing on the fence, and he just pulls it down in front of the crowd and stuff, and he's peeing inside the arena through the fence. Now, appropriate for a 2-year-old kid that doesn't know any better, but that's how confident he is. How many people, teenagers and stuff, like if they had to really go, would do something like that. I'm not recommending that, but I'm just saying how many would sing in front of a crowd because they're worried about what people think. And my son, Jason, has Down syndrome, but he'll sing in front of anybody, anytime, because he loves to sing. He doesn't care if you think he's better. He likes to sing and he likes to perform. So he has taught me more about living, I shouldn't call it the Trevor Brazile effect so much, but that's what in our industry, who people know, King of the Cowboys, but it's the Jason effect. He would run around nude, and he's 25 years old because he's comfortable. He knows it's not right because we've programmed it that you don't do that and you go to the restroom, right? But that freedom, we're naturally in flow state. It's all the programming that's been in this world. You're not good enough for this. You're introverted. You got to be considered a cowboy, or, you're Four-Finger Joe and whatever. And so this, going back to the question you had way earlier, is when this happened, my wife had 2 clients because she was coaching people. And she's like, these are 2 clients and you need to coach them. And I'm like, she's like, just teach them the fundamental basics. I'm like, oh, I could do that. And I was nervous because how are they going to take it? Am I going to say the right things to these people I've never met? And it worked out pretty good. The guy's coming over now. He's 82, my first client. Now it's been 6.5 years since I started coaching, 7 years. And now he's been coming over and practicing with me. And, he's like, I never learned the technique of roping as much, but, the mental game had helped him. He went and started winning, and he always had the talent, but the mindset, he's a classic overthinker, analysis paralysis is what they would call it. And so that's where a lot of us, we get stuck in our own head, and we're thinking of things that don't matter. Like, what is the people around me going to think? Does it really matter? Most people are thinking what you're thinking of them, so they don't have time to think of you.
That was a good, I've heard it several times now, but one big thing is like the gym. It's like you're worried about going into the gym when you're new and you don't know what the machines do and the different exercises and how you're going to look, and people are going to judge you. And it's like, no, the gym's full of mirrors because everybody's watching themselves. They're not worried about you.
Yeah.
In the same way in life, everybody's generally worried about themselves.
Yeah, all you have to do is do the test yourself. When you go to the roping, what are you thinking about? When you go to the competition, what are you thinking about? Oh, is my horse, did I brush their hair? Did I get them right? They have a cut, or their feet done? Or, is someone going to know that they're not performing to their top level? And do I look good? And do I have the right rope? Does this saddle fit in? And am I riding the right saddle pad? Like, people can, do I put tape on their braids, or do I put rubber bands, and what's cool, and what kind of tail bag, if I have a tail bag, is it the right one? Should I put extension, all this showy stuff, and to fit in. And the highest frequency that human beings put off, have you ever heard of that? Like, they can measure you, they can put you like in a Faraday cage where there's no other information coming in, electronic, and they can, Curlion photography, is that, am I saying?
Curlion photography? Curlion?
So, but they can film like your aura and things of that nature. But in the Faraday cage, they can read your energy and convert it like to the energy, the power that you're putting off. And I always thought love would be the highest frequency. And what Jason has, the Jason Tenney effect, authenticity. It's like 100 times more powerful than love.
Because when you're authentic, you are who you're designed to be, right? And so there's no confusion in there. And I just wish people would understand more so that when you live in the space of who you are and know that that's amazing and wonderful, then all the other things become inconsequential. And also like you just go on the path that you're supposed to go on. The problem when we're like, where do we go? What do we do? Is because all of the doubt and all of the things, like if we listen to our intuition and if we listen to what is there for us, what are our passions, what are our things, then run down that path and run at it full force, because that's your authentic self. Like you were mentioning earlier, you want to be a cowboy, like that's your deal. Great. Can you do this Wealthy Cowboy show and still be a cowboy? 100%. And they work together really well, right? So like, that's what people need to understand. You have those passions and those desires for a reason. So step into it and live into it. If you want to be a rodeo cowboy, awesome. We went and worked at a college the other day with about 40 college students. And boy, college, again, the transition space, like they're in such a new space of figuring themselves out and who are they, and just battling social media, obviously, because it's out there everywhere, right? There's messages coming all the time. And when you can just see when they get it, like, oh, I'm okay. I'm a good person. It does, like, I don't need all the things. It literally is freedom. So much.
Well, a lot of people talk about money is, what it does is it gives you freedom. Well, mindset is the first step to that. Whether you have money or not, is your son is a boy?
Daughter.
Your daughter, she's free at 3. My grandson is free at 3. And Jason, some people say handicap or whatever, Down syndrome is whatever. He's born and created perfectly to be him. But he has more freedom than even I do, because he doesn't overthink things and care about what other people are judging or saying. And that comes back. I know who I am. So it comes across, I'm authentically who I am. Now, I'm not going to try to be something I'm not for you or for somebody else. When people come to me or my wife, we've really fell into who we're very comfortable with who we are, and we don't need the outside approval. We don't mind it, but that's not why we're here. We're not trying to get outside. I'm not trying to prove my point to somebody like this is the only way. I just understand how my whole life has changed. I went from, I didn't realize that I grew up with a lack and limiting mindset. And that's where comparison, that's where all these programs were so automatic. Muscle memory, all these things, pressure. I used to believe in pressure. It just doesn't, it's not real for me anymore, because I understand who I am. I have the freedom to fail and look bad doing it. But I also have the freedom to succeed and look good doing it, or look bad succeeding. The look doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's who had the fastest time in our deal. Looking good, looking bad, like on a good looking horse or an ugly horse. A horse that has a talent's all I'm looking for. If they're pretty, it's a bonus. But when you have the freedom to be yourself, and that's what you were talking about with Trevor Brazil, is he recognizes, okay, this is what happened. I don't like that. Release it. What do I want? How do I make my good run? This is what I need to do. This is how I'm going to set up my horse. This is how I'm going to set myself up. These are the things I'm going to use. This is the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to look at it. And now I'm going to go execute. And then you go execute to the best of your ability. And you win, place or show or lose. And then you have to do it all over again. And that's life. Every day is a new opportunity. And I think I might have heard it once on one of your, I think you brought it up, is if I gave you $1 million, how would you feel?
Yeah, you'd feel awesome.
You'd feel awesome. And obviously, if someone just gave you $1 million, there's always a catch. But what if I said, you can have $1 million, but you don't get to wake up tomorrow? Would you take it? No one I've asked said, well, yeah. So why do we treat the day like it's a hostile universe? Why don't we know it's friendly? And what we do out there in the world is find out who we really are. Be authentically you. Let your feelings, some people try to hide their feelings. They wear their feelings on their sleeve. I'm an emotional guy. And I used to that's not manly but I'll cry if I need to cry now. If you have a problem with that, I'm not going to make your problem my problem. I'm going to express my emotion. I cry on movies my wife doesn't cry on. And it's like, it just touched me. And when I think about it, and if it tears me up and I cry a little bit, fine. I'm going to feel free to do that. I don't need to hide that. And that authenticity, people appreciate and they can feel it and sense it. And when you can be, if you know who you are, which 90-something% of us don't, once you find that, you have the actual freedom to be a billionaire and it's not going to ruin you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can be a champion and it's not going to ruin you. And you can win that finale and it's not going to ruin your relationships and your stuff, because it just enhances whatever you already are, your authentic self. Money is just an amplifier. Success is just an amplifier to who you really are, or the facade that you're putting out. And unfortunately, a lot of people are putting out a facade of what they want. That's what I used to do. I'm not going to speak for everyone. I'll just speak for me. I used to put a facade. I wanted people to like me, so I would morph into these people. Like if I went and all my buddies were playing basketball, I wouldn't wear my cowboy hat. I would wear a cap because they were city folk. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be accepted. Now I'm going to wear what I'm going to wear because I want to wear it. My wife kind of gives me a hard time. Like, that's not appropriate. I said, this is who I am. It's appropriate for me. And if that's a problem, it's not my problem.
That's what I hear, like studying all the successful people that have money, that have built businesses and stuff. And that's like the ultimate, when you actually made it, like, Sam Walton or Elon or, Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos or any of that, like, they don't care. They don't care how they dress. They don't care about what they drive or whatever it is. They're focused on other things and they know who they are. They just do whatever they want. They have enough money. They could do all the fancy things or they couldn't. And then you have the people, obviously you see people trying, like you said, put the facade on of going and buying all the stuff just for the facade of looking successful and rich or wealthy or whatever. And then like I hear it come up all the time in podcasts and stuff about cars and watches and stuff. And a lot of people are like, yeah, that's stupid unless you're a car guy. Like if you're interested in cars, then yes, go have a car collection of exotic cars or whatever, classic cars. Or if you're a watch guy like Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank, he wears 2 watches. And, really expensive ones, but he says, I'm a watch guy. Like I love watches and learning and talking about them and all that stuff. But like, if you're just trying to be like him and you don't really care about it, then it's fake.
You're making me feel much better about my horse purchases right now. I like those horses.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You tell them about your horse business that you got me into.
Well, we accidentally bought a bred mare and then now we have 3. And we just keep rolling with them. It's fun. So fun.
That's how I view the horse business. It's like you say business, but you never really show a profit from it. So what is it really a business or
so
what
fun.
is it? Yeah.
Well, and here's the brilliance. Just going with kind of what we do is making a decision. We made a decision that I'm roping. I'm always training horses. I usually buy horses that have a problem. That's what I grew up doing. Buying horses that are blown up in the box, and we took them out on the ranch and we made good horses out of them. And then we come back to the roping arena and a lot of wet saddle blankets and they're a totally different horse. And my dad and granddad were always amazing at picking horses that had the talent and the ability. But we would pry the cheap horses that would buck you off or had a problem. And that's what I grew up. I've always been fixing horses. I started a lot of colts, but the ones that I owned and had for a long time, we always bought an $800 horse back in the day. If you can even imagine $800 horse that was talented. And $1,500 horse was a lot of money. I remember $2,500 we spent, and that was a ton of money for a horse. And he was pretty good. Didn't have many problems, just green. But anyways, taking problem horses. And so that's just kind of my program. I always bought horses I have an eye to for that kind of horse. And like, oh, it has a talent. It just needs a little bit of help. They have a box problem. I'm like, I can fix that in a month. I'm good. And so I can get a really good price, good deal. And that's what I'd always done. And, you know, the last couple, we bought some horses, made a decision. Okay, look, you don't need to do that anymore. And so I spent more on one horse than I spent on all the horses in my life added up together. And, you know, we won. He was a Riata horse, and he was a 5-year-old when I bought him. And that year I won over 96,000 on him, and nothing over 10,000 at one time. Not one big chunk, just always winning on him. And so he ended up paying for himself, but I never would have done that with my old lack and limiting mindset, spending that, because I could go get a horse and then train him, fix him, whatever, way cheaper. And what if he dies? We can always do the what if, you know, and it's just a horse, and we can always play those games. But that horse we bought, and then I bought another one just a little cheaper than that one at the same trip. And now took her, and she's winning. But now we're raising horses, but we're looking at the long term, the 10-year plan, instead of just doing it. She loves playing with the bloodlines and doing all those things. And I know some bloodlines because my granddad, my grandfather, and my dad, and the connections we have. And what I know is I've seen the movie Secretariat, and the one thing about Secretariat is they said his heart was 2.5 times the regular size. And what I understand through studying for the last 11 years and understanding, there's a reason for that. It's not just an anomaly. And if you watch the movie Secretariat, you can go back and see some of the reasons if you look at it from a different awareness. Because when I watched Secretariat, it was a great movie when I was young. But now I watch it, and it's a great example of the impact of your thoughts and your emotions on everything around you. You impact your 3-year-old daughter by the way you feel. She picks up on that so easily when she's young. And then you can come home mad later and say, I'm not mad, honey. I had a great day ranching or working or whatever. But, you know, we know. You go in a room and something weird's going on, you feel it. But we're like, oh, no, they look like they're having a good time. And we try to reason ourselves out of that. But whenever we are having that limiting mindset or limiting belief system, we're lost. We don't think we can accomplish the things. We don't think it'll work out, like spending that money on a horse. But on our breeding program, we picked out 2 mares. We're breeding them, we're raising them throughout, and we're using the mental game. Because in Secretariat, the movie, if you go back and watch it, the lady's dad was dying. The farm was going to be lost. But the dad had made a great deal with this really the richest guy in the industry to breed to the great stud. And he bred his mares, and they would do a coin toss and flip and to see who got the pick of the foals. And she had this belief system, and she had all the emotion tied, where she actually left her kids and her husband to go spend time. And then she's found a way to make it work. And then she found a trainer, and they looked at the bloodlines, whether it's real or not. They made it real because this horse is going to have distance and speed. This is the one you want. And when it comes to the coin toss, the guy picked what everyone would pick, the other gelding.
You're going to ruin the movie for people.
They've already seen it, but they picked it. But the reason, and then they had a guy that took care of them.
The groomsman?
The groomsman. I'm trying to remember his name, but watch the movie, and he loved that horse, loved Red. And then you go watch, and then I watched.
Had a lot of belief behind him.
Everyone believed in that baby. And it's maybe exaggerated in the movie a little bit, but then I watched clips after that where they have the the groomsman, the guy who took care of the horse the most, and then the rider, and then the trainer, and then the owner. And there's so much belief. That's why that horse, from before he was born, the belief was put into that horse. And he did the impossible and has a 2.5 times size of heart. And we don't think our thoughts are powerful. And this is one thing that I really want to say is, if you knew how powerful your thoughts actually are, you would never think a negative thought again in your life. Because thoughts are something that we can't see, but they're as real as this table, as this microphone, as you, and more real. Our thoughts are what create all of this. Everything begins with a thought, and you put an emotion to it, an action, now you get a result. And that's the way we operate, and most people don't stop to think. A thought plus a belief multiplied by an action equals success to an infinite power. Another formula my beautiful wife created amongst with the 4 R's.
Yeah, and I think as you're talking about like who comes to us, generally it's rodeo athletes, team rippers, whoever. But what they walk away with is, oh my gosh, this applies to my business. This applies to my relationships, everywhere else, right? Just because of what you just said is that thought process, it applies everywhere. It's not just in competition. And when people gain that self-awareness, then everything is just opened up for them. It's kind of crazy how that works.
I think I see that in this, like the show is have a mix of like straight rancher type operations and then guys that have built real, like actual business. You think of business in town, but they're the same thing. Mm-hmm. If you're not running your ranch as a business, then you're probably not making any money. So, but I see it in my views that my audience with my background is a lot of rancher type people. So they really like anything we talk about, cattle or horses or something like that. Everybody seems to love that. And I'm like, y'all need to listen to the other ones also, because they tie together perfectly.
Mm-hmm. That's why I take all the things, gather it all together and say, what's the best out of these things? Just for that reason. You can learn a lot from a lot of different places, even if you're just in the ag industry specifically. There are so many places to learn things from.
Explain the difference, like you've mentioned it, the limited mindset. Explain the difference in limited and abundance mindset. If you didn't hear Ben Hale's story on episode 69, you need to check it out. He's been earning trust in the cattle industry one handshake at a time since 1995 at Western Livestock. Western Livestock is proud to be family owned and operated now with 5 locations: Oklahoma City, Woodward, Comanche, and Waurika, Oklahoma, and also Knoxville, Iowa. They're proud to do business the Western way with honesty, integrity, and a handshake that still means something. You can join them ringside or stream their sales from wherever you are. Western Livestock, where a handshake is their word, cattle are money, and timing is everything. If you're looking to buy or sell, contact Ben Hale at 940-631-BEEF. That's 940-631-2333. Check them out on Facebook or westernlivestock.com.
You know, it seems self-explanatory, but when I was in my limited mindset, I didn't realize I was in limited mindset. But the limited mindset that I had, that I was kind of stuck in, that I didn't realize was go to work, get a job, increase your skills, learn some new skills, get a raise, go to work, you know, be better at your job, move up, maybe run, you know, go from the laborer to the, you know, the operator to the foreman to the business owner. And even as a business owner, you can limit yourself. And that's the thing that we still work on is what is the pricing that it actually is worth, and how to make sure that you can provide enough, you know, what is
value?
Value. Yeah,
So,
provide enough value. Go ahead.
So limiting versus abundance, really limiting is there's not enough to go around, right? As we're looking at the world and we're saying, gosh, I've got to hang on, I've got to grab, I've got to fight for what I can get because there's just not enough to go around.
And if you're successful, you're pulling that from somebody else. You're taking away.
Right, because there's only so much available, right? So and the abundance is direct opposite of that, thinking, gosh, there's more than enough to go around. If we really just think about the simplicity of the dirt or the grains of sand that are out there. Can you count them? Probably not, right? Like it's just the abundance is it's so vast. It's so hard for us to comprehend, but we can certainly comprehend limited mindset. Mm-hmm. Like there's only enough to go around. And so thinking in those two veins, if you're thinking limited, then you're in a struggle. Then you're fighting all the time. Then you're looking at people like maybe they're the enemy, right? Like maybe those kinds of things. But if you're looking at things in abundance, then you're saying, you know what? That person is doing the same thing I'm doing. Either how could we work together to make it bigger, better, or how can we both create, like if we're thinking about a pie or something, like how can we both create a different kind of pie? Maybe it's not just this pie, but we're going to create something new and something better and something more magical, either on my own or together with somebody else. And I think because we base our life on circumstance and what we can actually see and touch and feel, right? Like the things that we're experiencing, then that's what we're basing that's all there is. But if you think about it, when do you know how to earn $10,000 in a minute? Do you know how to do it? Yeah. Well, I just saw it this weekend because I was at the Regatta finals and they earned, in less than 30 seconds, they earned $172,000, right? Like we don't think that way. We think, oh my gosh, there's not enough. Or once you've learned how to make that next level, then you realize it wasn't as hard as I thought it was. And so then you can step into the next level. So if we keep, again, the clarity, if we keep clear that there's enough to go around, then we're not fighting. And when you're not fighting something, then things are easy. That's the flow state. Like we can connect all the dots with all the things here.
Yeah, that's what your pie made me think of. I heard it explained really good of people think of it as a pie. So like when you cut a piece of pie and you take it out, then that piece is gone. There's only so much left. But really life is like a garden, like how God created it. Mm-hmm. It's a garden. And then in a garden, the more that you take, the more comes back. You got to pick something when it's ripe for something else to grow. So,
and how many apples are in one apple seed? Just think about that, right? You plant the one seed, you get a tree, and it produces apples for how many ever years after. And those apples have seeds that get planted, and like it's infinite. Mm-hmm. And I think it's one of the laws of the universe, the law of supply. And if we really just sit back and think about what have we been supplied with, it's pretty amazing, actually.
Talk about y'all's business now. Like what does it look like? What are y'all doing? Who are you helping?
So we coach from the best in the world, pros, to people just picking up a rope for the first time. And then we end up coaching kids of those parents that have different sports, baseball, volleyball, doesn't matter, any sport you can think of. Seems like we've coached them. We coach businesses, so some of our clients we get some relationships with, a lot of them are business owners. And so then we can go into their corporations and coach their business, get the whole company going in the right mindset, right direction, thinking unlimited instead of limited. And so our clientele is very vast, but most of it is in the team roping world and barrel racing. And have we done? Well, I had a bulldogger, but then we have, so we do college rodeo teams, and we've done some church camps. So, but we do have, the private coaching is absolutely something that I, like my wife said before, I like one-on-one private coaching, I really like to look someone in the eye, see where they're at, feel what they're not saying, understand it, and then helping them and believe in them so that they can borrow my belief and then flourish, and then till they can get their own beliefs and sometimes their own belief in themselves. And so that business is really good.
So we have private coaching that you just mentioned. So that's more one-on-one. And then we have that we also work through. We have a video system that
our online training system.
Yeah, it's online. So people can just purchase that and then view it whenever they want. They're little 5-minute video clips basically they have it for a year so they can do whatever. So there's that option. Workshops, clinics, anything that you could imagine that it would be with an individual or with a team of any sort or inside your work environment, those kinds of things.
Yeah, the principles that we work on work in every aspect of your life. And that's what, if you go and see some of our testimonials on our website, it's like, this is life-changing. It helped me with my roping, but I didn't know it was going to change my whole life. My business, like I have a guy I'm staying with now where our truck and trailer and horse is, and his business has almost doubled, and it's just crazy. He was scared at first because he hired some people that were better and it cost him more, but I'm like, that's the move because of all the dynamics of the situation. So to help guide him through that and just double your income in a year, and he's already doing quite a bit, and it's the freedom. What we're really good at is helping people be authentic, finding out who they really are so that they can feel comfortable in front of people and be comfortable winning. Some people are afraid of winning.
Yeah.
And they self-sabotage. And some people try to win so much because they're afraid of losing, then they create a different kind of self-sabotage. And so helping people discover authenticity, who they really are in all aspects. And there's laws of like gravity works, whether you believe in it or not. And so limited and unlimited, friendly or unfriendly, it's your choice. That's where we have our free will. You get to choose how you look at this. Is it good to be on a podcast? Is it good to have a podcast? Is it bad? Your choice. Some people are going to hate this. Some people are going to say no big deal, and some people are going to love it. Okay. I love it. I'm going to spread the word and, try to help people with the principles that work, that are known. Like you said before, there's a system out there, and the system works. So work the system.
And I think I'm sure y'all see this a lot, like once somebody gets pushed past their comfort zone and gets rewarded, then it's like a whole new world. That's how it was for me. It's like now I've been rewarded a bunch of times for being pushed out of my comfort zone. And now I'm like, okay, if I want to be better or I want more money or, whatever the thing is that I want, okay, let's go find some discomfort somewhere and something.
We call it the terror barrier. Or I call it the terror barrier. Yep. Like you are living in your comfort zone and you get a new thought process and you're like, gosh, there's a whole barrier there, but what am I going to do? Am I going to jump through it, or am I going to hit it and bounce back into my comfort zone? And that's, again, the power of decision, right? But once you jump through it, you've just jumped another level. And so you've learned something new that you can do, that you're capable of doing. And then you create a new comfort zone and that terror barrier comes up again and you're continually going through it. But essentially, that's exactly what you're describing.
That's what I did here was like, I don't remember how many episodes I did, but like, this is pretty easy for me now. I don't get nervous about coming in and doing it or anything. So I was like, it's too comfortable now. I need something else. So I started doing those solo episodes, which is way harder to sit there and talk by yourself. It's easy to have a conversation, but to sit there and talk by yourself, I'm not like totally comfortable in that now, but I'm getting there. And then like I did one, I spoke to some high school seniors at a high school rodeo banquet. Public speaking was like way out of my comfort zone.
But you did it.
Yeah, I knew. I was like, when they asked, I was like, immediately, yes. like, what are you gonna? My wife was like, what are you gonna talk about? Blah blah. Blah. And I'm like, I don't know. I just know that I have to do it because it's something that I used to be terrified of, and I know that if I do it, it could open something else. I could get rewarded for it. So I do it knowing there's a reward somewhere out there if I break past that barrier.
It's growth. It's what we call growth, right? You're growing.
Yeah, the reward is what you become while you go through this process.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the reward that's like, if I'm going to go try to be a world champion, it's the process of going through the whole process of becoming a world champion. It's what it makes of you, not the trophy at the end of it. And one thing I wanted to say about our business is a lot of people will go to trainers and they'll go to schools, clinics, and they do a lot of technique, and they talk about the mental game. And a lot of people are a little bit confused about the true mental game. And I'm going to say this as delicately without trying to offend people. My wife's like, hey, don't offend people. I'm like, a lot of people call technique the mental game. And here's how I explain it. If you go to the doctor because you have a headache, what does the doctor give you?
Medicine, pills.
Gives you a pill, gives you something, and then does your headache go away typically?
Probably, yeah.
Most of the time. Now, here's the question I ask. Was it the lack of the pill or the medicine that gave you the headache?
No.
And so the cause is something totally different. The technique was taking the pill and your headache goes away, and that's temporary relief. But you might be masking a major breakdown or problem that you're unaware of. And through study that I know, because I study biology and I study quantum mechanics and quantum entanglement theory and all these things, because I want to be an expert. And my gift, I think, is bringing it to, I like simple. I like 1 + 1 is 2. So I don't need this big complicated algorithm. I just want to put it in plain English. So it's not the lack of the pill that caused the headache. So what was it? Well, through my study, I understand that like almost 90% of all headaches are caused by dehydration. And then some people say, well, I drink a ton of water and electrolytes. But if you don't have the right minerals in your body, the cells can't absorb the water and the electrolytes. And that's something I was never taught growing up. Just drink a lot of water and or have some Gatorade or whatever. Well, then there's other things in Gatorade that aren't necessarily, they block cells and absorption. So there's certain things that we can be aware of that help us physically. But it's the mental that starts it all. And so technique is like the pill, and it will work, but it's typically temporary. It doesn't fix the cause of the situation. And that's what we do, is we go dissect the cause of how you were raised. Why are you introverted? Things of that nature. If we were going to coach you, like, why are you afraid of speaking publicly? Why would you, have you ever spoke to one person in your life? So you just do that. And there's more than one person there. You know how to talk, and you're comfortable talking to your mom, your dad, your wife, your friends. So now it's just a bigger group. So you know how to talk. Mm-hmm. But it's the idea, what ideas are in there? What's that programming? And that program was you were little and your parents who loved you the most, they said you can do anything and you can be anything, but don't do that and don't do this and stop this, right? And so then we come up with these little complexes that we're not good enough and we'll never measure up. And I never felt I did anything right for my dad, but he was always just trying to push me. He just did what his dad did to him, is put high expectations because they love you. And there's sometimes a little bit better way to approach that with certain personalities, certain type of kids. Mm-hmm. Some people will thrive and that's exactly what they need. And some people will get more introverted. And so to discover what actually caused certain things and why you behave the way you behave, when one of my guys I love, Carter, hey Carter, he said, when are we going to rope? When we started coaching. I said, no, that's down the road. And we roped and won a lot of money together after we did some coaching.
Like the Karate Kid or what's that? There's the Cowboy show too. Oh, My Heroes Have Always Been Cowboys, where he makes them sit on top of the barn up there and just sit there. It's like, when are we going to actually ride the bull or do karate?
Well, it's when you're ready, right? And you have to be mentally ready to do the thing. If you start doing the thing before you're mentally ready, you're literally spinning your wheels. And that's where we talk about this story of the fly, that the fly is like hitting the window. If I just work harder, if I just get out the window, if I could just do it. When like 2 feet away, he could have just flown differently and gone out the open door. And I think that's also what we do, is see that objective view and then talk to people and say, what's going on here? And we're able to see what's without the emotion, right? Because the emotion's what's driving all the behavior. So we're able to look at that and say, hey, maybe if you could think about it in this way, that might change a whole lot of things for you. And that's generally what happens, is they just shift their thinking process around the thing, or the emotion around the thing.
Yeah, I read or listened to Outliers not that long ago, and the story in there, like he was talking about the kid, and I think he was studying like the difference in like wealthy and poor kids, and he was talking about the wealthy kid. Whenever they went to the doctor, the mom was like, tell the doctor what's wrong with you. So he was going through like how important that was. You think of it as not important, but the kid got to express authority against somebody that was higher up, had more authority, an older person that had more authority. And so then that kid grew up confident in himself to express his opinion to somebody above him. Actually, it might have been when they were talking about the cultural differences in the plane crash and stuff like that. But all those little things that you think. And now I think about them all the time of raising a little girl. Like, how can we raise her to be confident in herself, to where that there's never a failure. It's always just a lesson. It's always successful. Willow Creek Cattle Company develops and breeds hundreds of heifers a year for their customers. They can buy, develop, and AI heifers to the bull of your choice. They're located in Northeast Kansas in the heart of the Flint Hills. So they can also start and grow your grass cattle. The U.S. cow herd is currently at the lowest inventory ever recorded, and with these record high calf prices, Willow Creek Cattle Company can provide a turnkey supply of AI bred heifers to help you rebuild your herd. Give them a call for all your backgrounding and heifer development needs, 620-344-2795.
One of my favorite things I did as a parent, talking about that in mindset and thinking about this, is when my oldest daughter started high school, I was realizing like, oh my gosh, I am doling out money to you left and right, because she was in everything, FFA, basketball, cheer, like everything. Everything. And so this is ridiculous. She has no idea the value of this money and the time that it takes to earn it. And so I randomly came up with a plan. I deposited a certain amount of money in the bank once a month and said, you budget it, you figure it out. I didn't pay for doctor's appointments. I didn't pay for dance, like nothing. I paid for nothing. And she had to figure it out. So I said, great. If you spend, $100 on jeans and that's all the money that you have in your bank, awesome. You have a great new pair of jeans, but I'm not going to help you pay for, your gas money or whatever. So then her sophomore year, I split it in half and said, okay, you earn half of it.
She deposited in the account every month. Yeah.
Right. And then junior and senior year, I gave her no money, none. And so when she went to college, it was kind of it was like a proud mom moment, right? Like she earned like $33,000 in scholarships and bought a car and bought a computer and paid, her own deal. I never gave him money after that. And she was like, she went to go to an apartment with some girls to rent, and they went and they looked at it and they were super excited about it. And she said, okay, let's sign the lease, and they said, well, we have to go talk to our mom. And she was like, right then I realized my friends are not adults. I'm an adult. And I think that that's probably because I kind of pushed her into like, you have to figure out how this money thing works, right? And then she also figured out what was the most important in her life. Did she want to do all the things, or did she want to do a few things well? They tease me about it all the time, but both of my girls went through the same process, and they're both very independent and can figure things out on their own now, financially, because of all of that.
I think that goes to the principle that comes right out of the Bible is, teach a man to fish versus give him a fish.
Yeah. And wasn't it, was it Solomon that you could have whatever you want in the world. And he said, I just want the wisdom.
Wisdom.
You don't want the material things. If you learn the skills, like you said, you can have all the other stuff.
Yeah, the wisdom is that's why thoughts are we use our imagination in the wrong direction so much. What if this goes wrong? Why don't you just change it? What if it goes right? I hate cleaning the horse stalls. Oh, how about I get to clean the horse stall and spend a little bit of time with that horse where he's not working for me, I'm working for him because he works for me and gives me the opportunity for $100,000 that doesn't mean anything to him. And that trophy doesn't mean anything to that horse. How you make him feel when you're around that horse, that energy that you bring. If you're mad and you go in there, your horse is on the other side of the pen. If you're late running to a rodeo or something's happening and you go in there in a hectic fashion, how easy is it to catch your horse? It's not so easy. Now, if you go in there and you don't want to catch your horse, he's in your pocket.
I always thought it was just because they didn't like me and they liked my wife. I didn't know there was something to it.
Yeah.
Because I got to run them around or trap them. I'll try to, coax them in with feed or something. And then it's always, besides my wife, it just seems like women in general, they can just walk out in the pasture and catch one.
Well, and it's our intention. See, for that, I would ask, what are you thinking about when you're going out there? And you're thinking about catching them.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's always a good story that, if you want to catch butterflies, how would you go about doing that? How would you?
Go find a net.
Go find a net and go find where butterflies are and chase them.
Mm-hmm.
Another way I found is why don't I just build a garden with all the flowers that the butterflies I want or be attracted to? Both ways work, right? And both ways take a little bit of work. But you can have them come to you and sit there and you don't have to, trap them necessarily and catch them, and they'll stick around. So just a little shift in perspective. A lot of times it's just a 1, 2, 5 degree shift in perspective can change everything, can make it go from a hostile universe to a friendly universe.
Well, it's return on investment too, right? Like how much energy and time and mental space are you investing in something? If you're chasing butterflies down, that's a lot of investment right there. So what's the return? Maybe I'm going to catch 1 or 2, right? Mm-hmm. So you spend some energy building the garden, and then what's the return on investment? Now I've got a whole, I don't know, what do you call them? A herd, a flock?
Yeah.
What are butterflies?
Let's just call them a herd of butterflies. For all you butterfly herders out there, let us know how you do that in the comment section.
Yeah, it's like the story of the old bull and the young bull on the hill. Let's run down there and get one of those cows. Like, no, let's just walk down there and breed all those cows.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah, the opportunities to, what my wife was talking about earlier, emotion, like most people allow their emotions before their thoughts. Even though there is a thought, they're so programmed to be emotional. And it happens to me still. Like my wife and I are talking about something, I hear something, and it might be something I don't do the dishes right or something, I don't know. And she says something and I associate it back to that, and I'm automatically defensive because of a question or something she asked. And it's like, I have to stop and think, like, why am I having a response like this? That's an emotional response, and is it real? And so I'm good now at asking, so what do you mean? What are you actually trying to say? Because I'm hearing this. What do you mean? Oh, no, I didn't mean that at all. I was just saying, look at the clouds over there. They're nice. Oh. Thought she was referencing when I had soap that looked like a cloud and I didn't do the dishes right. And, and even my daughters, sometimes I talk to them and I go, what did you hear? And they'll hear something that I didn't say. And most people don't realize that we are so caught up in our own self-image and our self-worth that we bring it to everything that we hear, how we see the world and how we approach things. And you can just tell people when they're authentic and they're comfortable in their own skin, you're just drawn to those type of people. Or you're scared to death of them because you don't want to be found out. And typically, but it's not that person's problem. It always goes to you. And the freedom that I have to be successful now and to look like a fool doing it. That's not my problem. I hope you get a good laugh. If I misspeak and I say something funny and I don't finish my point and do the things that I do sometimes, and you want to judge me for it, have fun. Do what you need to do, and I'm okay with it.
I say often that you're not responsible for other people's emotions. It's not your job. Like, don't get attached to other people's emotions. You worry about yourself, and they have to be in control of themselves. So I think that's part of what we get in trouble with, is we're attaching ourselves to other people's emotions and feeling responsible for that. I don't have the kind of power it takes to control your emotions, or definitely not yours. Definitely not yours.
Sometimes I get in trouble and get called a dick for that. That's what I tell Shady. She's like, you need to people's feelings, blah, 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 whatever they think. I'm like, I don't really care.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but.
Well, and I mean, I think you can
I'm not trying to be mean most of the time.
And you can care about other people's feelings. You just don't have to be attached to them. Your feelings don't have to be responsive to their feelings. Again, that's the control that you have in your life, is you do not have to respond to other people's emotions unless you want to, and then be ready to face the consequences, whatever those are.
Well, it's like a story that a guy was in New York and he was going by the newsstand and he was buying a newspaper, like he does every day on his way to work. And his buddy's walking with him this day, and he buys a newspaper, and it's 50 cents, and he gives the guy $2. He's like, keep the change. And the guy was, here's your paper, and he was real grouchy. And his buddy goes, why would you tip that ornery son of a gun? And he said, why would I allow his nature to change my nature? And that's what we've been taught, is it's tit for tat, right? You know, it's... most arguments I break down and I have it in my head. If I'm observing or seeing someone have an argument, it's like a 2-year-old. Well, my dad could beat up your dad. Yeah. My grandpa can beat up, my horse can outrun your horse. My cat's bigger and faster than your, no matter how sophisticated the words are that we use, that's what the argument. Mm-hmm. And I used to be really good at arguing and sounding like that. Still in my 40s. So, you know, it's a much freer life now to realize that I'm not to. How I learned to respond and react and what the world's told me, I got to prove my point. One thing that I heard in the personal development, some book I read or podcast I was listening to, it said self-worth is a poor man's version. Oh, no. I screwed that up. So make fun of me for that, guys, if you want, and have a good laugh. But being right is a poor man's version of self-worth.
Because you tie it to what your worth is tied to if you're right or wrong.
And that hit home with me. Because my dad and my mom, they argued to be right. And I learned if you can be louder and last longer than the other person, you're right. Yeah. And that's just the most destructive thing that maybe I've learned from my parents that I thought was kind of good and maybe was a big struggle in my life growing up, and thinking being louder and lasting longer to prove my point. And now I understand this is a hard concept. I mean, it was so hard. It maybe took me 3 years to truly grasp this concept, is everybody is absolutely correct. Now, the caveat to that is from their perspective, from their understanding, from their level of awareness. So when someone is telling me, I'm looking at a blue sky and they're telling me this is a red sky, my automatic instinct is like, what are you, dumb? Everyone knows that's blue. I can call 10 people up and prove that it's blue and it's not red. Now I go, I wonder what would make them think that. And I'll look, do they have contacts on? Do they have glasses on? Are they colorblind? Have you ever had your eyes tested? I might ask, right? You know, and then I might think, and maybe I'm wrong. Instead of like, no, I'm right. Like that, I had to be right all the time. And I knew what was right. Now I realize that's not important at all. If I'm right or not is not important.
Not going to affect your life at all.
It's not even on the scale anymore. Me being right. I want to understand if I'm working with anybody, I need to understand them, why they think it's right, and let them explain it to me. And what you're going to find is a lot of people are surface level thinkers, and they just they see things. Oh, they make a quick assessment or judgment of that, and that's the way it is for them. And they're okay with that. But now let's think deeper about that. Why is the sky blue? What creates that pigment? And how do our eyes actually work for us to see that color? And you can go down, and study that and be an optometrist and be a doctor, and do that. But instead of just that quick surface level judgment, that's what most people live on. And when you ask them, I've learned that by asking deeper questions like, okay, how did you come up with that? Well, I heard that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a saying my dad always said. That's a saying my grandfather. Putting my cowboy hat on the bed, I was convinced, is why are you smiling? Because what does it mean?
Bad luck.
It's bad luck. What's the color yellow?
Bad luck.
$50 in your pocket, a $50 bill in your pocket.
I never even knew $50 was bad luck. And
change in your pocket.
Change your, the ignorance of superstition. If you think that, and I was so ignorant, I'll tell you a story. I went and I had a girlfriend. I went to a rodeo. My parents were there, and we went to the junior rodeo, and we took the stuff into the hotel room. And she had my cowboy hat, the one I perform in, not the one I wore every day. She puts it on the bed. I crossed the threshold and I dive. I dive on the bed and I hit that hat off. I'm like, don't you ever, and I'm yelling at this girl that I like, don't ever put a cowboy hat on a bed. What in the hell is going on? This guy's always sweet and nice, and he's like a ding. And the next day I woke up and I was puking. I was sick as a dog all day long, and I performed like crap.
Because the hat, obviously. Because I believe that. I heard my grandfather say it. That's how powerful our belief. It can make you physically sick. It can even kill you, but it also can make you well, and it can make you do things that you're uncomfortable with. The power of the mind is more powerful than a laser cutting through 3-inch plate of steel. Focused thought is the most powerful thing known to man. One of my favorite sayings people say is, that's just the way it is.
If you believe it's true, that's true.
What's some advice you would give somebody? Just like a short piece of advice.
Oh gosh.
We don't do short. I thought about this question. I thought there's 2 things that I think everybody can do to improve their life immediately. Become very good at making a decision. And the way you get very good at making a decision is know where you stand. And what I say, know where you stand, know what your moral compass is, or some things that are non-negotiables in your life. Like if you consider yourself being honest, let's not just say the words that I say. Being honest means if I say I'm going to be there at 9:00, because I always was running late, I never thought me being 5 minutes or 10 minutes late was not being honest. But as I looked at it from a different perspective, I told someone I would be somewhere at a certain time. Now I can blame traffic, I can blame a flat tire, I can blame these things, but honesty for me goes way deeper than what most people would just talking to somebody, showing up on time for a job, not leaving 2 minutes early. And so if you can make decisions, it's a lot easier to make decisions based on a moral guide. Like, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be a hard worker. I'm going to be open to learn new ideas. I'm going to go with the principle of teaching a man to fish instead of giving him a fish, which takes a lot more time at first, but then the payoff is incredible in the end. So if you can have those principles, call them morals, that you stand for, that'll make decision-making easy for you. So those two go hand in hand. And if you can get that down, decision is a superpower, because once you make a decision, I'm going to go do this podcast. So then I had what dates can we do it? I'm going to do it. Okay, we can do it here, and get with my wife's schedule. So we knew what we had to do, work it out with you, with your schedule, with our schedule. And so we found a way. And there was no way it wasn't going to happen, because we decided to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Then we just had to get the timing right, and we knew that it would. We just had to figure it out. And so we worked on it, and here we are. So that decision is a superpower. If anything else in your life, make decisions, and then you will know where to go. And if you make the wrong decision because you took action on that decision, now you just turn around and go the other way. At least you're not standing still or going backwards.
Yeah, the deer that gets hit's the one in the middle of the road. Doesn't know which way to go.
You got it.
I think number one is understand your own personal responsibility for the choices that you make in your life. Like you are in charge. So you figure that part out. And then number two is, again, back to the clarity. Like, get a clear direction. Where do you want to go? And stick with that. And then the third would be intentionality. Like, be super intentional about what you think and the direction that you take. Find out what the most important things are that you need to do. Once you've gained that clarity, and once you understand that you're in charge of yourself and the momentum that you're going to make for yourself, then be so intentional. Because our pattern is to fall back into the comfort zone of whatever we were in before, right? And then really the last one is, two more. The last one is think with an abundance mindset. Again, you have to be really intentional about that. Think with opulence. Think bigger than you can ever even imagine, right? And then the last one is really seek first to understand other people and figure out, why is it, you were just talking about this, like, why is it that they have that perspective and that opinion? Because we all have to work with other people in the world. We can be independent and we can know what direction we're going, but unless we figure out how to work with other people and do that well, we're going to be in trouble. I think that's one of the things I heard from one of your podcasts is the struggle of having employees and having to deal with people and what their life is outside of work and what they bring to the office, just all of the things. Figuring that out is a true game changer for any business overall. Is what is the mindset? What are the paradigms that my employees are working by and working with? Once you figure that out, now you know how to approach it. So that was a lot of advice. But see, I told you it was hard.
One.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's helped me, like, not get mad, not let other people ruin my day, and not tie it to other people, like the tit for tat deal.
Mm-hmm.
Like we get into, going to events or inviting people to events or something. And Shady's like, well, that person did this or that. And I'm like, well, I don't care. I still want to go. I want to go. I don't care what they do. I want to go because I want to go. Or we're going to invite them because I want to invite them. Whatever they do is up to them.
That's right.
And it's, like you said, it's freedom when you do that. And like you said, it's not perfect. I mean, a lot of times first instinct is to be triggered but then it's like, well, maybe they have a reason for whatever they did. So it's very freeing and makes your life way better.
So much easier.
Not let somebody else control your day.
Definitely. I always ask my clients, I go, have you ever gotten mad, thrown a fit, gotten an argument and made your life better?
No.
There you go. And so if we can pause between stimulus and response, there's a gap. And the bigger we can make that gap, we don't have to respond emotionally. We can think about it and say, okay, what's going on here? And that takes practice. And, so that's where we try to get people to too, is there's just so much to what we do, discovering who you actually are and what you think your identity is. Mm-hmm. And what you're actually created for. Mm-hmm. Greatness is already within you. You just have to tap into it and express it. Most people think they have to do something to become great. And it's like the adage, I'll believe it when I see it. The way the law works is when you believe it, then you'll see it. And I can't get into another lesson because I know we're running out of time.
If you could break it down, success to one skill or trait, like what would be one skill or trait to somebody needed to work on? The most important. You only get one.
Learning. Just be a constant learner. Be curious. That's an amazing skill to have.
Authenticity. You can be authentically you. If you like, being a cowboy, be a cowboy. If you like being a skater or a surfer, go be a skater or surfer. Be authentic. What makes you happy, don't hide your joy, happiness to fit in.
Yeah.
Authenticity. So just because you were created with certain talents and gifts, there's only one of you.
I remember, I don't hear it anymore. All the lingo has changed with the pop culture, but when I was young, it was, poser was a big word, like, oh, just a poser or whatever. And that was never in a positive light.
That's right.
What are some books or resources that y'all like to get somebody pointed in the right direction?
One of the greatest books ever, my wife wrote, Mind Games of Rodeo. That's a pretty good book. We need to update it a little bit with our clinics and things of that nature.
It's short and sweet.
And then she actually wrote children's books to get children. It's like a treasure hunt, and it's pretty amazing, a little series of that. But, I've read Psycho-Cybernetics at least 70, 80 times in the last 11 years. U Squared, Bryce Pritchard, that's the story with the fly in it. There's so many, anything by Bob Proctor, anything John Maxwell, Jim Rohn, podcasts, things of that nature. Just, we could be here for 10 minutes going through all the people that I study, like more current.
I love watching videos of Jim Rohn, just the way he talks and the presentations. I like to watch those all the time. He said, if you get $1 million, you better become a millionaire real quick so you get to keep the money. But his expressions and how he hits, he's just such a great speaker.
I love the thing. He's like, if you don't like where you're at, you're not a tree. Leave. That's so funny, that guy. Yeah, I got some.
Like Working with the Law by Raymond Hollywell, and also 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey, and pretty much anything by John Maxwell, of course. I also love
I got a lot of deeper ones.
The 13 Laws of Success by Napoleon Hill. I believe that's the title of it. Those are great ones to just wrap your head around a little bit.
And if y'all have listened, y'all know we got to know your favorite restaurant.
I don't know. What are you going to say?
Well, Texas Roadhouse is what my son would say, just because of, you can go in there and get a decent steak and it's a little too noisy and stuff. But my favorite restaurant that I found is in Williams, Arizona, and it's Cattleman's Steakhouse. They have a K4, they call it, steak, ribeye. Best I've ever had. So that's my favorite place.
Gosh.
I had Roadhouse like 4 episodes in a row as the answer, and I'm like, what?
So consistent.
That's what they say. It's like McDonald's, just consistency.
That's why I was saying the Texas Roadhouse, you can find them everywhere you go. And so you can go out and you know what kind of steak you're going to get. It's just going to be just good.
I never knew. I read the story, the guy's book of Texas Roadhouse, how it started and stuff. It's pretty interesting. And I didn't know that it was, it's at a lower price point than the kind of their competitors like Longhorn and Outback and stuff. It's a pretty cool book. Yeah.
Is it the Cattleman's in Sholo? Is that the
Williams?
No, they're in Sholo. It's a steakhouse. We're kind of steak people. But yeah, there's one in Sholo. I really enjoyed that. Sholo, Arizona. I believe it's the Cattleman's Steakhouse there also.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anywhere with chocolate cake, I'm a total fan of.
Steak and chocolate cake.
Steak and chocolate cake.
She's good.
tell everybody how they can find y'all, where to follow you, how to reach out? Because I think everybody listening to this could use your training.
Yeah, tenneytraining.com. It's TENNEY. That's our website with all the things. And then also we're on Facebook. We are on, not so much on Instagram. We are on TikTok. And I am on LinkedIn, but not as Tenney Training, I guess. Those are the main places. Or you can
TikTok and Facebook.
Yeah.
TikTok and Facebook. Facebook is, I can run that a little bit. I'm technically challenged. I'm like the outdoor stuff. I like to do the cowboy stuff and be outdoors. And I can get on those devices and make a mess out of them. So she can create the website. She does all the hard work, and she posts 90% of the things. And I'll do the short rounds. She doesn't get to go as much, but 'cause she's doing all the work. But I'm playing.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, y'all reach out to him. And I want to bring up the importance of having a brand on social media, because it's how I found them on Facebook. It's how I find a lot of my guests. And that is the importance. If you don't have one, if you don't have your content out there, nobody's going to know how good a service you have or product you have. So that's super important. Y'all go check them out, Tenney Training. We'll see y'all next time. As a business owner, you know Google reviews can make or break you. The problem, happy customers don't always speak up, and the few bad ones can drag you down fast. That's why we built Review Wizard, a free tool that makes getting 5-star reviews simple. Just post a QR code in your business, customers can scan it, and in seconds they leave you a review. But that's just the start. Review Wizard helps you respond to customers automatically, share reviews straight to social media, and even add them to your website to build instant trust. Every new review boosts your Google SEO ranking, making it easier for new customers to find you online. And if you want to take it to the next level, our AI upgrade can filter out the bad reviews before they hit your page and engage with your customers so you don't lose them. That means more good reviews, less damage control, and stronger relationships. The best part, the base version is completely free. No catch. Just click the link below and start turning your happy customers into your best marketing team today.